From picking up the iconic storytelling of Game of Thrones to adding new characters to mimic its predecessor, here's all about the House of the Dragon's showrunner, confirming that Season 2 will be more like Game of Thrones. After a very successful Season 1, House of the Dragon seems to be going back to its predecessor's original formula. Once thought of as the best fantasy show on TV, Game of Thrones lost most of the respect it built up with fans, and it's a lesson in why writers should always craft good endings. But in the end, it didn't matter much, because it wasn't hard for HBO's newest spin-off to win that respect back. Even though House of the Dragon was boring at times, it was a big step up from the last few episodes of GOT's finale. HOD managed to give fans a taste of the good old days while keeping its own unique identity. But with Season 2 right around the corner, the creators decided to tell the tale of the Targaryens in a more familiar way. And speaking of the creators, did you know that Miguel Sapochnik has stepped down for the second season? Sapochnik's departure was announced in August 2022 and said to be a mutual decision. He was a regular on Game of Thrones and was even a co-showrunner on Dragon's first season. It'll be interesting to see how this change will impact the overall direction of the show. But Matthew Bellany of Puck News says, Miguel quit after a long fight over his wife, Alexis Rabin's, her role on the show. Drama alert. The fight between the creators started when HBO refused to have Robin as a co-producer for the second season, calling her inexperienced. This led to not one but two showrunners leaving the team, so it's safe to say the creative team is kind of shaky. But I have faith that they'll do a great job with this storyline. On that note, showrunner Ryan Condal confirmed that Season 2 will embrace traditions. He says the sequel to HBO's hit spin-off will take a similar approach to storytelling as Game of Thrones. Condal can't wait to continue from where things left off and finally return to the more familiar Game of Thrones rhythm. So that means Season 2 will pick up directly where Season 1 left off. House of the Dragon's co-creators, George R.R. Martin and Condal, have often joked, "This story has all the makings of a great Greek or even Shakespearean tragedy," and they've definitely got a point. You've got the breakdown of a family home as the central theme throughout the series. All the pieces are on the board for the creators. Viserys is no longer keeping a lid on things, and this gives the creative team endless possibilities. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see how this one plays out. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait a while, because according to reports, House of the Dragon won't be released until mid-2024. But, hey, they're fixing the mistakes from Season 1, so I've got no complaints. Even though Condal didn't say it out loud, his words seem to point to controversial time jumps from HOD's early episodes. Luckily, this time around, the showrunner has already confirmed that it won't happen in Season 2. Thank God. Who would want more of those confusing and annoying jumps? Plus, this new /old approach to storytelling for House of the Dragon has so much promise. HBO has already greenlit Season 3. Like, come on, guys. Season 2 has just started filming. And honestly, the events of Season 1 have opened the door for unlimited plot potential, and could eventually even lead the story toward Game of Thrones. The death of Viserys in the first season was one of the show's most powerful scenes. It hit actor Paddy Considine so hard that the guy actually cried on the set of House of the Dragon. It's also crucial to note the story potential it opened up for Season 2. Condal said that the trick was really to show this generational conflict that began with Viserys' generation. As Rhaenyra and Alicent matured and had children of their own, they carried on the traditions the latter's father, Otto Hightower, had established. Their children will inherit their competitive spirit and the need for control that we see a lot of in Game of Thrones as well. Not only that, but the creative team had to wrap up this 3-generational saga in one season to go on to the series climax, Dance of the Dragons. The promise of a more Game of Thrones style approach and no more time skips is more than enough to stoke the fires of anticipation among the fans. Though Condal had expressed hope for a late 2023 release, series star Ewan Mitchell has estimated that production on House of the Dragon 2 will take up to 8 months. The estimated release date of mid-2024 proves Mitchell is, unfortunately, correct. When you're making a show of this caliber, it could take some time to develop it. especially with the complicated character list the world of Game of Thrones has. The bigger question here, though, is how does it compare to Game of Thrones? House of the Dragon is the first ever spin-off of the popular HBO series. Just like Game of Thrones was based on Martin's book series, A Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragon also draws inspiration from his novels, being based on Fire and Blood. The events take place almost 200 years before the first series and tell the story of House Targaryen's slow and tragic fall from grace. From being the rulers of the Seven Kingdoms to being in the state they were at the start of Game of Thrones. Now that the spin-off has found its footing and established its historical period, Season 2 can delve further into the elements that made Game of Thrones so compelling and get rid of those annoying time skips for good. The original series focused largely on the gradual development of events, detailing the harsh consequences that some of the characters faced, not to mention the complicated political struggles for control of the Iron Throne. But still, the show's steady pacing helped it create a sense of tension, especially when winter and the White Walker army drew near. But House of the Dragon's storyline hasn't exactly matched the level of Game of Thrones yet, though that might change by moving at a more steady pace. All in all, the storyline and the way the tale is told will considerably change in the upcoming season. But what exactly can we expect from Season 2? To put it simply, war. There's just no getting around it. Everything in the first season was just a lead-up to the inevitable civil war. And House of the Dragon did a great job of setting it up with detailed backstories, even better than Game of Thrones in some areas. But enough with the talks, as the time of exertion is upon us. Even though Alicent and Rhaenyra have tried to find a peaceful way through the chaos Viserys caused, all of that will go out the window after Lucerys' death, as Rhaenyra is likely to demand an instant answer for her son's cruel demise. Given what Aemond has done in the past, there's no way in hell she'll think that the murder was an accident. And if Aemond wanted an eye for an eye, Rhaenyra might go for a son, as the two challenge each other for the throne. And honestly, the conflict couldn't have come at a worse time. Alicent and Rhaenyra were beginning to heal their frail bond, but this war definitely put extra, if not irreparable, strain on that. Tom Glyn Carney, the actor who portrays Rhaenyra's stepbrother, also hinted that more havoc is on the way. He revealed at the Game of Thrones fan convention that his character will cause more chaos and throw a wrench in the works. How Aegon of him. While Season 2 will be like Game of Thrones and be an ensemble piece where you follow multiple characters, it's still the story of Rhaenyra and Alicent and their families pitted against each other. But Season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon has added 4 new actors to its cast. Entertainment Weekly reports that new cast members include Freddie Fox, Gail Rankin, Simon Russell Beale, and Abubakar Salim. All of these actors will play key roles in the series, and some of them even related to the existing characters. But the big question is, are they coming to mimic the tension and danger that Game of Thrones established? Beale will play Sir Simon Strong in the show, Lord Larys Strong's great-uncle and the Castellan of Harrenhal. Fox will play Sir Gawain Hightower, the brother of Queen Alicent. Salim will play the Stepstones veteran, Alan of Hull, a Valyrian fleet sailor. And finally, Rankin will take on the role of Alice Rivers, a doctor who lives in Harrenhal. Alice also possesses mystical visions and rises to become a formidable leader within the Targaryens' Green faction. So the addition of these characters seems quite interesting. So there you have it. From adding new characters to bring back the magic of its predecessor, to going for a similar storytelling style as the Game of Thrones. That's all on House of the Dragon showrunner confirming Season 2 will be more like Game of Thrones.